wanted to react to Vikings Minicamp from the observations of one Alec Lewis from The Athletic. But to be honest, it was so detailed the way he transcribed it. It's just too much going on for me to try to fit into a traditional 10-minute video. So I figured, screw it. Let me just go ahead and react to it on the live stream. Daniel, what up? Tony, Oddland 6, Tycoon, Evil Butler, Josh. What's going on, everybody? So reacting to Vikings Minicamp ahead of training camp. And we'll start on the offensive side of the ball. Again, this is me reacting to the observations of Vikings Minicamp from Alec Lewis of The Athletic. Starting on offense. Quarterback for Sam Darnold, looked sharp. Might have thrown only one interception in mandatory minicamp, and that might have been a byproduct of a poor route by his receiver. So Sam Darnold, according to this, has been damn near perfect. He's going to be the starter. I don't think there's any question about it. I don't think there's really any debates about who the QB1 is going to be for 2024. And in fact, I know I did a record prediction once the schedule came out, saying that there were two different versions. There's traditional Sam, the guy that's been a journeyman, or Super Sam. He's never had this sort of supporting cast before. 314 for door number 1 and 11-6 for door number 2. But the more that I think about it, and I'm not trying to sit here and sell you fake ass positivity, I really see the Vikings being, if not, maybe not being a great team, they could be really, really good. And if nothing else, they'll sure as hell be a tough out. They're not going to be a pushover. I think Sam Darnold is going to look pretty good. And quite honestly, the Vikings record, however which way it goes, it rests on the performance of one Sam Darnold. On JJ McCarthy, Alec Lewis wrote, think of his first few months as your first few months taking a foreign language. Why rush? Why overreact? Show up, make mistakes, learn, then show up again. Yeah, he needs to sit for a year. JJ McCarthy does. Any sort of hot takes you see from ESPN or the national media debating Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy, the real ones know what it is. Sit for a year. History shows that there's only a handful of rookie quarterbacks that start right out the gate and they're immediately successful. Or maybe they struggle a little bit, but then they get successful later on. But I would say, anecdotally speaking, the vast majority of rookie quarterbacks, that they need to sit for a year or two before they finally get it. Otherwise, if you rush them too early, you'll ruin their confidence, and that's it. Everybody gets fired. On Nick Mullins, like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. Some beautiful throws and some that made head coach Kevin O'Connell shake his head. That's Nick Mullins. I don't have any further commentary on that. Jaron Hall, more refined than last year, does not have a lot of velocity, but knows he's the number 4 and knows his role as a good teammate. I don't think he's going to make this roster. I don't see them carrying 4 quarterbacks at all. But Sam Darnold looks damn near perfect, which is great. I think they're gonna have a really, really good year. Better than what most expect. At running back, Aaron Jones, motivated and hungry to stick it to his former team. You can see it even if he hasn't said it. Revenge is a hell of a selling point at the negotiating table. Especially with former Packers players. We saw that with Zadarius Smith. I just want to really stick it to Green Bay. Now, Alec Lewis is saying that Aaron Jones hasn't said that, but you can see it in his body language. That doesn't surprise me at all. Ty Chandler, a locker room favorite. Players think he can be great. I do as well. Having Jones as a mentor, counterpart, and friend is a hugely positive factor. And that's really the main points of the running back room. And every position that I'm going to go over, it's going to be for the notable players. See a couple of your comments so far before we keep going here. Scolger, Vike Ben, Randy, what's up, my brother? I think Sam has a good chance to throw for around 4K in this offense. Well, let's predict his stat line for this year. Let me see historically who he's been. Again, we understand that this is a different system, different team around him. So he should be better than what he's been historically by default. But when he's the starter and he plays for at least 12 plus games, he gets around 3K. And that's looking at his first 2 years with the Jets. And I mean, I don't really think they had anybody in 2018 or 2019. I can't recall. If I'm forgetting somebody, let me know in the chat room here. But you consider Justin Jefferson at wide receiver 1, Addison, Robert Tonyan, we'll talk about him in just a second, Aaron Jones at running back. I mean, I think the only thing that, if you want to nitpick why Sam Darnold may not have as great of a year as, say, a Case Keenum or even Sam Bradford if he hadn't gotten hurt in 2017, because that first game, man, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole right now, but that first game, that was against the Saints. That was against the Saints week 1, that 2017 season, right? I can't remember if it was Saints or Packers. Either way, Sam Bradford went all the way off. And man, if he just didn't get hurt, that's the story of his career. If he just doesn't get hurt, I'll tell you what, man, that NFC Championship game, you had a better shot. I think Case Keenum caught a tight butt. But let's predict his stat line. Sam Darnold, I think 4K is realistic. He's got to take care of the football. That's a real big just black hole in his stat line for his career. I mean, it's close, bro. This is damn near 1-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. I'll say he'll take better care of the football for sure, especially with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. The range of error that you have is bigger than you'll ever have with a guy like, I don't know, let's say in Carolina right now. I know he was with San Francisco last year, but let's say compared to Terrace Marshall, I'm going to say 4K at least. And I'll say it'll go from 1-to-1 to a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. 4K, 30 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Or maybe like 27 TDs and 12, 13 picks. That's my prediction. So Scolger, you're saying 27 and 11. Okay, so we're pretty close in our predictions right there. Daniel says, are we going to see JJ in the preseason to see what he's got, or definitely expect to see him in this preseason? I think that's the only time we'll see him playing in a Vikings jersey this year, if all things go well, which we're hoping. But getting back to Alec Lewis's minicamp observations and reacting to that, went over quarterback and running back, staying on offense. Justin Jefferson, deservedly wealthy. Nothing else to add to that. Jordan Addison, trying to think of a nickname for him. Any thoughts? He's quiet but capable of extreme torture on defenses. No member of the Vikings was more captivating to watch glide across the practice field this spring. I'm buying stock in his future. Hell yeah, bro. Heck yeah. Last year, Addison had, I want to say he had 9 touchdowns last year. I know he had 9, but did he get anything more after that? And that's his rookie year. 10. He had 10 touchdowns last year. This man's going to be a beast. You're talking about having two receivers, definitely with Justin Jefferson, that's no surprise, but with Addison, two receivers, your wide receiver 1 and 2, who are both legitimately wide receiver 1s if they played on separate teams. And he's getting better. He had a hell of a rookie campaign, bro. Brandon Powell, reliable until tush pushing. Reference to the Cincy game. But a number 3 receiver? If so, who returns punts, kicks? A major question. Don't know who's going to return punts or kicks. But a number 3 receiver, I think he's capable of doing that. I think it's his job to lose. Jalen Naylor, he mentions intriguing when healthy, but the problem is availability isn't his strong suit. So until you see otherwise, I'm not really counting on much from him. But Tristan Jackson, I've been saying it the last couple of weeks. He's the guy. If anybody's going to challenge Brandon Powell, to me, it's Tristan Jackson. He's the first man up. But even if you have to settle for Brandon Powell, I think he's fine. He's legit. And all the attention that's going to be given to the first 2 wide receivers on the depth chart, Brandon Powell could eat this year. Going to tight end. Hodgson, he's going to be out for a while. Josh Oliver, he blocks, so great. Robert Tonyan. Now, this is some juicy stuff right here by Lewis. Robert Tonyan would not be blown away if he was the number 3 most targeted Vikings pass catcher until Hawk returns. This spring, he was that frisky. Hey, this channel is the Robert Tonyan fan club campaign, whatever other adjectives you want to add on top of it. When I saw that they signed him, I said, oh yeah, this man's been criminally underrated his whole career. What he did in Green Bay. In fact, when he left Green Bay, I was just saying, what happened? I never really looked into it, but just he's a good football player. He's not going to knock your socks off as far as great catches, although reportedly in minicamp, he's been making fantastic catches that are worthy of ending up on any major network for highlights. But as far as what he's shown before, he's not going to necessarily knock your socks off. He's just a really good football player. And the fact that Lewis is saying that he wouldn't be blown away if he was the number 3 most targeted Vikings pass catcher. So that's number 3 after Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Doesn't shock me one bit as long as Hockenson is out. It'll be interesting to see that final depth chart. I mean, really, whatever they do with wherever they put Josh Oliver, it's whatever. Even if they put him at tight end 1, we know we're not going to expect much from him as a pass catcher. But as far as where he ends up, is he going to be ahead of Johnny Munt on the depth chart? And speaking of tight end, staying in the tight end position, N'Keal Harry, his comments, the most obvious position change ever. His body type screams tight end. So it doesn't really say anything about where he would be on the depth chart. I think really instead of Robert Tonyan versus Johnny Munt, it's N'Keal Harry versus Johnny Munt. I want N'Keal Harry to succeed at tight end because as Alec Lewis mentions, it's so obvious. This has been right under our nose this entire time that N'Keal Harry, he's just built like a tight end. He's not going to ever be successful as a wide receiver at the pro level. But once training camp hits, how does N'Keal Harry look? And then that depth chart. Robert Tonyan, the way it looks, he'll be the tight end 1 or tight end 2, however they go ahead and put Josh Oliver down. But where's the discrepancy? What's the difference between N'Keal Harry's spot and Johnny Munt's spot? Now, I'm rooting for this guy. I think he can make an impact, N'Keal Harry. Facts. And then the offensive line on offense, before we get to defense. Actually, we'll get to some of your comments. But the offensive line, I thought it would be pretty status quo until I saw one striking thing that made me go, oh, really? You don't say. And it starts with the first observation on the offensive line. Guard Blake Brandel. The staff thinks he's capable of starting. Of course, we already knew that. But watch him at both left guard and right guard. Oh, Ed Ingram, his job is potentially up for grabs. It's not solidified. I thought for sure we'd go into his third year out of LSU. This is going to be the man. But his job is potentially in jeopardy. That's crazy. And then when you consider Dalton Risner, can you imagine an offensive line next in 2024, this upcoming season, where your guards on either side of Garrett Bradbury at center, your guards are Dalton Risner and Blake Brandel, where Ed Ingram doesn't even make the cut as a starter? That's something to look forward to, man. That's crazy. I didn't see that coming. Garrett Bradbury, Alec Lewis, and I think he's just trying to be nice here. He says, don't underestimate the value of his system experience with new quarterbacks. He has produced more each year, and the Vikings hope that continues. Respectfully, this really sounds like the coverage that Matt Khalil was getting. Like, we knew he was bad, and he has his major flaws. He's a detriment to this roster, a black hole on the offensive line, but it's, he knows the system and he has experience. I'm not really expecting much from him. We need to move on from that guy ASAP next year. There's only so many positions you can replace in one offseason, so I'll give the Vikings credit for that. But next year, and you got your first round pick, and then it's a black hole after that, so you got to make it work. Trade down based on if you do have a bad season. But anyway, that's a rabbit hole we don't need to get into right now. Tristan D, do you think the NFL is sleeping on the Vikings? If Sam Darnold has a Baker Mayfield season type of comeback this year, we could be a serious threat. Yeah, I mentioned that at the beginning of this live stream. I think I don't know what it is about the Minnesota Vikings and the national media. I saw something to actually let me not even paraphrase here. Let me get the exact thing that I saw. That someone from ESPN was hating on the Vikings and their offseason or their draft, whatever, and just saying they gave up too much trading up for Dallas Turner. I guess it really doesn't even matter the exact source for that, but I've seen something along those lines several times this offseason. And I do think the media is sleeping on the Vikings. I'm starting to really, really believe that Sam Darnold is going to have his best season of his career. To where, and this would be a good problem to have, to where next year you have this conundrum of, all right, do we feel comfortable with J.J. McCarthy starting in year 2, 2025? Do we feel rock solid? Because, okay, if we do, great. He's the starter. If not, if we have any shadow of a doubt, then, hey, man, we got Sam Darnold right here who had a really good season. We predicted his stat line earlier this live stream. I think I said 27 and 13. Skolger Vike Ben said, I think 27 and 11. I think he'll have a really good year. The main thing that he needs to take care of is the football. Everything else, I think, will be relatively easy for him compared to how his career has gone and the lack of support he's had when he has been the starting quarterback. But I do think, and I'm not trying to sell you or because every offseason, man, and not just with the Vikings, but I think every team, every offseason is everybody sleeping on us. We're going to shock the world and prove everybody wrong. But I really do believe that in this instance. Sarah, better to be underrated than overrated. Yeah, that's true. But whenever you get all the hype and everyone starts believing in you, it's almost, I do hate how cliche football is as far as the motivational factor where I know coaches across the league every single week prepping for each and every opponent for each and every Sunday. Look at this headline. Look what this person said from The Athletic or from ESPN. No one believes in you. And they get fired up. But I agree. I prefer being seen as the underdog. Mr. Thomas, who is your center? A revolving door. I hope he's better than last year's center. Same guy. Oh. Motown says, okay, Paul Allen. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Respectfully. No, don't. I swear, I'm not doing that. I do respect Paul Allen. I'm not trying to sell you fake positivity. This is just what I believe, man. I think this could be a really good team. I don't think they have a shot, I would say, to make it in as a wild card team, but I don't think they'll go on that 3-14 side with bad Sam as I predicted one of the two sides, 3-14 or 11-6. Nah, I'm never gonna blow smoke up your ass. Ever. Brian K says it's Flores defense now. They gone. Well, we'll get to the defense in just a second. Actually, we'll do that right now. Staying on Alec Lewis of The Athletic, his observations from Vikings Minicamp. And by the way, thanks everybody for joining this live stream. I swear to you all, I have no idea what the hell it is that I'm doing. I'm nervous every single time before I do this. But the fact that you guys show up means a lot to me. Thank you. All right, going to the defensive side of the ball, defensive line. And this is where, this is the biggest hole on this roster, talking about the position group as a whole. The interior defensive line, edge rushers, you're straight. But, man, this defensive line, all right, observations. Harrison Phillips altered his offseason preparation to be more pliable and able to withstand a big workload, worth keeping an eye on in a contract year. He's not a nose tackle. And I do fear that the Vikings will keep with the status quo and, continue him as a nose tackle. Then after that, it gets, and that's our best defensive lineman, interior D lineman anyway. After that, it's a hot ass mess. Really, this is, if anybody can stand out, it doesn't even matter where you got drafted. Levi Drake Rodriguez in the 7th, doesn't matter. You stand out. You show anything, you're in. That's how weak this position group is. Jerry Tillery, I don't like that acquisition. How Flores uses Tillery will be fascinating. He's imposing. You can understand why he was a first rounder. Now if he's a starter, we're in trouble, especially against the run. Can't do it. Jonathan Bullard, sure, I guess. Levi Drake Rodriguez, who I'm really rooting for, Jaquelin Roy as well. But Levi Drake Rodriguez, the team loves him already, improving against the run, has been and will continue to be the focus, but you cannot teach his motor. Amen. That's you need some dogs up front on a 3-4 interior defensive line. So at least the dog portion, that will show up in his x-ray scan. No doubt. Levi Drake Rodriguez. Probably a Staffordshire Terrier. That's what we would use when we were renting. We wouldn't say pit bull. Staffordshire Terrier. That's going to be fine. And it worked. Jaquelin Roy further along than Asezi Otomewo was after one season. All right, well, that's a low bar. Flores will give him premium chances in training camp. We really need an interior defensive line, man. We really do. And again, you can only address but so many positions in one offseason, so many positions of need that, man, can they just find the right combination of players? And even still, you don't have a nose tackle, I don't believe. But that's going to be the one area on this team. Actually, offensive line, you could say that as well. Where it's, okay, they need to sharpen up that tool a bit. Edge rushers, great. Jonathan Greenard, the anchor of the Vikings edge rushing group, created a spring tradition of post-practice sit-ups, engaging and will be a fan favorite. Excuse me. So, I mean, no surprise there. Probably will be, if I had to guess, one of the captains on this defense. Andrew Van Ginkel, he's rehabbing. If he's going to be able to start the season, it will be a shocker. But Edge Dallas Turner, quote, built in a lab. Sounds like Danielle Hunter, doesn't it? I expect them to be rushing the opposing passer in week 1. I'm going to take that line and interpret it even further. Now, Alec Lewis isn't saying this, but I'm going to say it. I think he starts, especially with Van Ginkel hurt. Your starters will be edge rushers, Dallas Turner and Jonathan Greenard. Van Ginkel, once he's healthy, he'll be a rotational piece. In fact, what's his contract like? I feel like that's the one contract where after the first year they can get out of. Let me see. Mind you, they made that signing before the draft, so they probably weren't even sure they were going to get a Dallas Turner. But this is okay. So after the first year, if you release him, you save. All right, so it's kind of even as far as the dead cap hit you take versus the savings. Savings 5.8 mil, dead cap 6.6. Maybe they keep him for 2 years. Dallas Turner, he's a rookie playing on a team friendly contract, so it wouldn't hurt. Some more of your comments before we continue down this road. Rex One Kettles, I'm worried that McCarthy sucks. It's way too early to be concerned at all. It's his rookie year. It's his first OTAs, minicamp, training camp will come up. You got to give him, let's give him a year. Let's watch him in preseason. Sure, that's, I think, the only time we're going to see him. But let's give him a year or two before we start freaking out. I think he'll be fine. Tedrick Webb, Dallas Turner will have double-digit sacks and will win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Ooh, it's a hot take. Really, is it that hot? Arguably the best defensive player in this draft class. He's up there. He might get it. Wouldn't be surprised. The Tech Jedi, I'm worried Randy won't do my taxes. No, I won't. Unless I put a button up on. I think that Christmas outfit I wore with the button up and the slacks and everything, people said I worked for State Farm and I could sell cars. More observations on this defense. Actually, we'll stick with edge rusher. Patrick Jones II, still missing advanced pass rush techniques, but still an interesting canvas. That's fine. I think him being a rotational edge rusher is great for any team. So I'll take it. Is this his last year on his rookie deal? I don't think it's worth everybody's time on this live stream for me to look it up real quick, but I like him as a rotational piece. Andre Carter II, last year, a lot of hype with him as an undrafted free agent. Major work to do to make the roster. So there's a chance he doesn't even make it. Why? Probably because Gabriel Murphy is making it tough. Although Alec Lewis says lack of full speed defensive reps limited a full evaluation. So it's still up in the air, but he'll be interesting to watch in training camp, athletically gifted. And so that's going to do it. I mean, edge rushers, especially if Van Ginkel can get healthy, we are deep as hell, bro. I like it. Fresh legs, nonstop. getting after the quarterback. Going to, and we're talking about notable players as well. Like I can't listen, man. I know I can't sit here and pretend like, oh my God, like Bo Richter, edge rusher. You know what? As Alec Lewis says, injured this spring, a practice squad competitor. I mean, what are we doing here? So wish him the best. Notable players. Going to linebacker, Ivan Pace Jr., fantastic rookie season. Potential green dot for Flores. That makes sense. Still blasphemous he went undrafted. I agree. Said it in real time. Not just a contributor, but a difference maker. So, yeah, he's on pace to have a better year than his rookie campaign. Blake Cashman, a perfect coverage linebacker for Flores, who's capable of dropping and ranging more than Jordan Hicks did. Now, that's okay. Jordan Hicks was nasty last year. And if you're saying Blake Cashman is already looking better than Jordan Hicks, that says a lot. That's very exciting. We had a dynamic linebacker tandem last year, and it's looking like it's going to be more of the same, if not better. Wow. And as far as the rest of the linebacker group, it's Brian Asamoah, special teams contributor. I was so hyped for this guy when he got drafted. And he's just, if he makes the roster, it's special teams only. Going to the secondary. All right, yeah. Now, offensive line is when I had my first just wide-eyed moment. But corner, that's the second one. I think everything else pretty much aligns with what I expected anyway. But cornerback. Let me take a drink for this one. This one's crazy. Okay. Byron Murphy Jr., he's your CB1. We already know that. Okay, fine. Shaq Griffin walked like a leader all spring. Should exponentially help the Vikings in coverage, allowing Byron Murphy to move inside in the slot corner role. So he's already, from what it sounds like, he's already one of your starting outside corners. And I mentioned this when the Vikings signed him. This puts Caleb Evans on notice because he's going to have some competition between Shaq Griffin and Mekhi Blackman. But deep down inside, I thought, Mekhi Blackman, Caleb Evans, he has more experience, even though he's a bit inconsistent. However, Brian Flores doesn't give a rip because Mekhi Blackman, according to Alec Lewis, is the team's third best corner right now. Third best. Participated with the starters all spring. I damn near fell to the floor when I saw this. What does this mean for Caleb Evans? Well, the Vikings are not likely to lean on him this year as much as last. Man's in the doghouse. Hey, you know what? Flores knows best. And then you drafted Kyrie Jackson in the fourth as well. So it's a Caleb Evans. He had his shot. And in fact, I mean, I brought this up ahead of time, prep this. Almost forgot to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it right now. This is, okay, a Caleb Evans gave up a damn near 71% completion rate and 6 touchdowns. Now, did he have any? Looks like he had 1 interception. Okay, great. 7 pass deflections, but 6 touchdowns given up on a 70.4% completion rate. That's crazy. Nah, man. That's too much. That's bad. And a missed tackle percentage of 20%. What are we doing here? Compare that to Mekhi Blackman, albeit played about half the defensive snaps, but still played 435 snaps, 43% of the defensive snaps. Mekhi Blackman, 61.5% completion rate. I think this is a good enough sample size to where I would rather see that projected through to a Caleb Evans and his 855 snaps last year. A 61.5% completion rate. It's not necessarily great, but it's not horrible either. Gave up 2 touchdowns. Got an interception and 8 pass deflections. Come on. Hey. Right there in front of our eyes this whole time. But I didn't see this coming. I didn't see Mekhi Blackmon just jumping a Caleb Evans right out the gate before training camp starts. Damn. All right. Man's in the doghouse. We'll finish off the rest of his observations here. See, anybody else at corner? Notable Andrew Booth Jr. fighting uphill to earn a roster spot. There's really nothing else to say about him. Going to safety. Harrison Smith, Alec Lewis's observation, just one word, legend. That's it. Fair enough. Cam Bynum does not get enough credit for his consistency. Really? I think everyone, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I guess the question I would have for Alec Lewis is, where from do you think he's not getting enough credit? I think everybody within the Vikings fan base acknowledges that Cam Bynum was fantastic last year. So that's the only thing, but that's nitpicking for no reason. Josh, from my end, not Alec Lewis. Josh Metellus, Swiss Army knife, that's my word right there. He says, call him the toolbox. He is everything the Vikings defense needs when it needs it. Yeah, it's nothing else to say there. Theo Jackson, he has Minnesota covered in the event of injury at safety. Jay Ward, the Vikings would not cringe if he had to play. All right. He looked like one of the most explosive defenders on the roster this spring. Najee Thompson, excuse me, he's a special teams guy, likely to make the roster. And Lewis Cine, I mean, we're talking about right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I know this is before they cut it down to the final 53. This is a 90-man roster, but Lewis Cine is at the bottom. We're talking about safety 7. Lewis Cine, like Booth, he has a mountain to climb. He's not going to make this roster. This team is way too deep at many other positions, including safety, to where, all right, we'll spare Lewis Cine one last time. Nah, I think he's gone, bro. The jig is up. It's over with. Not just like Andrew Booth. Nothing left to say about him. Special teams. Will Reichert, the kicker equivalent of a scratch golfer. When he mishits, you are surprised. Was everything the Vikings hoped that he'd be this spring and then some. He's going to be your kicker. Like, no question about it. John Parker Romo, huge leg, but not nearly as consistent as Reichert. The nail in the coffin will be preseason, and that's all we need to see. Punter Seth Vernon has an unmistakable leg, will push Ryan Wright, and might even win the job. Ryan Wright had a bit of a sophomore slump last year, so we'll see how that pans out. And then Andrew DePaula, I love this quote by Alec Lewis. Andrew DePaula operates a bagel shop in Maryland. I need to check that out. Probably a couple hours away from me. And simultaneously earns All-Pro honors. So really the offensive line, will Ed Ingram retain a starting job? Because according to Alec Lewis, it's potentially in jeopardy. And we could see, next to Garrett Bradbury on either side at the guard positions, Dalton Reisner and Blake Brandel. That would be crazy. And the cornerback position, where Caleb Evans, right now, ahead of training camp, is CB4. I thought for sure he'd be either 2 or 3, but 4? Mekhi Blackmon ahead of you. All right. That's crazy. And then the defensive line, I mean, my God, anybody. Does anybody want to win these jobs at all, say it's at least two of them. I think out of loyalty, they'll still stick with Harrison Phillips at nose. But man, more of your thoughts. Blake says, "Rip Willie Mays." Oh, did he? Did he pass? Let me just fact check that. Please hold. Oh man. Oh, that's sad. 24-time. Oh, God. Let me not finish that. YouTube will flag me. God, dog it. 24-time All-Star, 12-time Gold Glover, 2-time MVP, World Series champion, Hall of Famer. That's wow. Amazing. Oh, sad. R.I.P. Willie Mays. Matthew Jacobs says Randy might have a chance at starting DN. Yeah, no kidding. Just need to do an invincible audition like the Eagles did. What's his name? Vince Papali? Whatever the hell. Anybody want to play DN? Bro, just go to any. If you're Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, it behooves you to go to every single gym, fitness center within 100-mile radius of US Bank Stadium. And anybody you see doing bench presses, just bring them in for a workout. You want to play DN? I saw those deadlifts, brother. You drink beer too? Oh, hell yeah. You'll fit right in. Sam says, how do you feel about the corner situation? Do you still see it being a huge problem this year? Not really. I think with a Caleb Evans being out, at least initially, ahead of training camp, out of the rotation, I feel a lot better. Byron Murphy, obviously, but Shaq Griffin is a solid player, and Mekhi Blackmon had a promising rookie campaign last year. I feel a lot better. If you add if you add a Caleb Evans to the mix anywhere between, obviously he wouldn't be CB1, but what I initially thought CB2 or 3, then I say, yeah, I don't necessarily feel great about it because of this guy, but with him out of the rotation, as far as being a starter, just put him in sub packages, I feel way better. Bo Richter, I wish I could read that. I don't know what that language is. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but I appreciate you participating. Says Bo Richter and Gabriel Murphy might beat Patrick Jones II and Andre Carter II. And again, this goes back to the whole Lewis Cine thing, why he's not going to make the roster, because we're deep at so many other positions. This includes edge rusher. I don't see Patrick Jones getting cut. I think he makes the team. I think even in spurts, he can be very valuable in this Brian Flores defense. Andre Carter II, hey, if he's gone, if he's cut, no sweat off my back, because he got all the hype last year. We didn't see anything. And with the presence of Gabriel Murphy, I think that does it. I'm not going to trip over Andre Carter II. Mr. Thomas says, what are you drinking, Randy? This is an IPA Conehead. It's 5.7%. It's pretty decent. Sam says, I'm obsessed with our linebacker group. Amen, brother. Pace, Cashman, Ginkle, Turner. Replace Ginkle with Greenard and you're all set. Because I think Ginkle is going to be a rotational guy to come in when either Turner or Greenard are a bit tired and you need some fresh legs. That across the board. Dallas Turner, Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace Jr., and Dallas Turner. I mean, or Greenard, excuse me. That's amazing. I'll take that every day of the week. It's my fear is just that it's going to be more of the same last year, especially against the run, where it's just the pressure immediately just blasts through the defensive line as far as the opposing offensive line and just starts making contact with that second level. That's what I'm afraid of. You need somebody, anybody, to make noise at IDL. We'll do a couple more. Like I said, this breakdown from Alec Lewis, this was so detailed. He literally did a whole I guess, breakdown of all 90 players on the Vikings after minicamp. It's just too much for me to have tried to have done on a traditional 10 plus minute video that I was like, screw it. I'm just going to do a live stream. But woo-wee. What about Bob? Graynard is the way he says to say it. It's Graynard, so it's not Greenard. It's Graynard. I'll fact check it, but I do want to make sure I say it right. You learn something new every day. Joker Nation, sup, Randy? I got a Pace jersey on the way. That's sick. You know, you get a jersey of a player on your favorite team, you got to get, especially in football, you got to get that somebody ASAP. Once they're a rookie, his players shuffle around all the time. What colorway? Like predominantly purple or away white? Northfia says no, it's Grenard. So we don't even know. We don't even know how to say it. There's no consensus. I need to, I guess, see an interview where someone says his name and he either agrees with it or corrects them. First I said Greenard, and people were coming at me saying, say his name right. It's Greenard. I was like, okay, Greenard. Now Bob's saying Graynard and Northfius is saying Grenard. Bob, you're saying Norse is right. All right. Grenard. Jonathan Grenard. All right. Sam says find an interview where he introduces himself. Yeah. I need to get it right. I want to make sure I pronounce everybody's name right. Do a few more. Matt says, have you heard Addison put on some pounds in the offseason and it's starting to look like a Debo Samuel body type? Exciting. I did hear that he was putting on some weight. Actually, did Alec Lewis mention that? I have heard it. No, Alec Lewis didn't mention that, but I did see that somewhere. I can't remember where. Debo Samuel's crazy. I haven't seen that comparison, but I have heard that he put on some pounds, which is, hey man, as long as you don't lose that speed, because there's a fine line between bulking up and getting strong, but then maybe losing a little bit of step off of that 40-yard dash. But if he can keep that speed that he has, but still be strong or stronger compared to last year, hell yeah, bro. I'll take that. And let's see, we'll do one more. There was a lot of discourse about how to pronounce Jonathan Grenard's last name. Do one more. Snap Bandana says preseason let Hall ball. You know good and well. That's why you got the eye roll right there. Nah, he's getting cut. he's going to be gone. And I believed in him, but based off of how they treated him, and I'm not going to say it's unfair, but I do find it funny, especially with Alec Lewis saying that so far through minicamp that Nick Mullins, like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. Some beautiful throws and some that made head coach KOC shake his head. The leash that he gave Nick Mullins last year, and then just the half of football, if that, maybe less than a half of football that Jaren Hall got. I was like, all right, man. But yeah, no, Jaren Hall, it's done. It's over. I think preseason, the biggest name we're going to be looking for is JJ McCarthy. And he's going to be playing against the 3s and the 4s. I don't think we need to see. Well, I guess to start off against the early games, the predominantly second units you'll be facing, Nick Mullins, sure. But then after that, JJ McCarthy all the way. Get him the reps. It doesn't matter. And then Jaren Hall, that's just, if you want to put him at the end of the fourth quarter for SNGs, sure. A couple of you guys are saying Brock Purdy. You comparing McCarthy to Purdy. I don't see it. I think McCarthy, if he reaches his peak, would be better than Brock Purdy. I mean, the difference in when they got drafted is one thing, but also I think when he goes on the run, McCarthy is again, if he reaches his peak. I mean, those are NFL throws that he makes on the run, especially when he jumps mid-air. McCarthy, Brock Purdy is. I know there's this whole propaganda about this guy, and he's criminally underrated. No, he's a product of his system. You put him on any other team that doesn't have as great of weapons as San Francisco has, I don't think he looks that great. He's Jekyll and Hyde. He makes some good throws, and then he makes some plays where you're just like, what the hell are you doing? But again, that team, man, you put Sam Darnold on that team. I'm not necessarily saying they also make the NFC Championship game, but they get deep into the playoffs with Sam Darnold on that roster. Nah, McCarthy, if he hits his ceiling, the potential, what everybody believes he can be, he'll be better than Brock Purdy. And that's not me giving a Paul Allen rose-tinted glasses take. I genuinely do believe that. It's a big if, but all right, that will do it. Again, breaking down the Vikings minicamp based on the observations of Alec Lewis from The Athletic. It was just so much. I couldn't fit it in a traditional video format that I do on this channel. I appreciate you guys checking in. And anything else happens, we'll be sure to react to it on this channel. You guys have a good night. Thanks again for participating, folks.